Welcome back to GAA Fan TV. My name is Aaron. I hope the form is good. I hope you're all keeping well. I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. Appreciate the yeah, I'm going a bit crazy here. But anyway, this weekend's action I was going to say the National Football League there because I'm so used to saying that, but it is, of course, the Championship. And we have a whole host of games to run through. We've got some big games, obviously, in the Leinster Championship. The quarterfinals taking place. Dublin will begin their Leinster defence away at Chadwick's Wexford Park. You've got Louth against Kildare, and a huge game there as well. I mean, Louth very much on the up. Kildare, you could argue, are on the up as well, but both teams that will be in the same division next year as well, so that could be a crucial game. Tyrone and Derry, undoubtedly the game of the weekend, so we'll be discussing that in depth as always. And of course, running through the Munster Championship action, as well as could there maybe be a bit of a banana skin on the cards for Roscommon going up against the Sligo team that certainly are buzzing at the minute with the fact that they did, of course, win the Under-20 Football Championship just about a week ago. So it's going to be very interesting. It is, of course, the Championship preview, the football preview, whatever you want to call it, game day preview. We change the name of the show every week just for the crack. But here we go. Yes, welcome back to the channel. As I said before, brought to you by Declan Kirby GAA Star. The book is out now, the new book, European Dream. So you can check that out in the description down below. Available both on Easons, Amazon, all good bookshops. So check that out if you haven't already. Great present to pick up any nieces, nephews, or anything like that to get them involved in Gaelic games. So make sure you go ahead and check that one out as always. Let me know in the comments down below what you're thinking for some of these games, and of course live as well. Let me know your predictions. There are a lot of games really to run through, as we were saying there in the intro. You've got some big games, Derry obviously going up against Tyrone. Some crunch games happening in the Munster Football Championship as well. Clare going up against Limerick, for example, is going to be an interesting one. Actually, the games that I'd like to see aren't on TV, which, is, no real surprise there, I suppose you could say, in terms of the likes of Clare, Limerick, and Louth, Kildare. I mean, what a interesting spectacle those two games would prove to be. We'll start off with Tyrone and Derry, though, because this is going to be the game of the weekend. Make no mistake about that, because a lot of the other games you could argue maybe could be a bit one-sided. You're not looking at top teams, so to say, and there's probably not going to be too many contests. But in terms of like a high-level contest, I think this could definitely be one between these two, Tyrone and Derry. Tyrone, obviously, the current reigning All-Ireland Senior Football champions, the current Ulster champions as well. They survived in Division 1, avoiding relegation, as we very well knew, and they had a very good finish to the campaign, beating both Kerry and Mayo. Two big wins, no mistake about that. Make no mistake about that from a Tyrone perspective. For Derry, on the other hand side, one of the best teams, or the best defensive team, statistically speaking, in the National Football League. They had a brilliant league campaign and were probably a little bit unlucky given the fact that they finished with 11 points and were not promoted. You'd feel like with 11 points, that surely would have been enough to see them getting promoted to Division 1. But because of the strong league campaigns by both Roscommon and Galway, Derry were the ones to miss out. Derry are a hard one to judge because we haven't seen them against too many top teams in the last couple of years. And it's probably been because of COVID as well, obviously, with the fact that there's been a shortened championship. You think of the big games, we've seen them against Armagh in 2020. And that was a relatively close game in the end, went down to a point. The Donegal game last year went down to a point. They were beaten very comprehensively by Galway in the league. But other than that, they have been very competitive against some top teams that they have played, which certainly makes this one very interesting. In terms of a head-to-head between these two, Tyrone have won the last 4 championship meetings, which isn't a surprise really. But Derry's last championship win over Tyrone came back in 2006. So Derry will certainly be looking to end a bit of a wait for a victory against Tyrone. Some news coming into this: Conor McKenna is going to be eligible to play. His suspension has been rescinded, so he will be available to start in this one. Probably the right decision in the end. I know sometimes we can all question some of these decisions getting rescinded and what's going on with the appeal. You have some people saying all you have to do is talk out of your arse and your appeal will be uplifted. But look, I think it was the right decision. I don't think it was a straight red. I do think it was a second yellow, but that wouldn't have been eligible for a suspension. So right decision in the end there for Conor McKenna to come back in. And I think much needed for Tyrone as well, because you could argue the point that he was probably Tyrone's best player when he came off the bench against Fermanagh at half-time. He was very, very good, very direct, was making a lot of forward runs and very much played a part in a lot of what Tyrone done right. He obviously played a significant part for the second goal, couple of other brilliant points and just positive moments from Conor McKenna's point of view. So Tyrone will be very, very happy indeed to have him back into this one. The style of play is going to be interesting from Rory Gallagher's men because, as we very well know, Derry, I don't know why Rory Gallagher popped up there. That was a little strange. It's almost as if he's listening there. I don't know what was going on. But Derry, their style of play, is interesting, isn't it? And we've seen them kind of be a lot more on the front foot, a lot more attacking in the past 2 years, very much so under Rory Gallagher than probably people have expected. But this year, they certainly have shifted a little bit more defensively, and we've obviously seen that they are the best defensive team, statistically speaking, from the National Football League in the country. Tyrone haven't exactly been free scoring either. Their attack hasn't, other than Darren McCurry, who scored 221 throughout the league and obviously had impressive moments against Fermanagh. Their attack hasn't exactly been free flowing, free scoring. So that will be an interesting one. And I expect Derry to very much, a lot of men behind the ball. You could be talking 12, 13, 14 players all behind the ball. They're going to, suffocate that space in front of the square. It's going to be very tough for Tyrone to break through Derry. But I think from Derry's point of view, they'll need to pick and choose their moments very, very well, of course, on the counter-attack. And Conor Glass, his work around the middle is going to be interesting, going up against either Con Kilpatrick or Brian Kennedy in there. You've got a lot of fascinating battles, make no mistake about it. Who's going to be the man to pick up Darren McCurry? That's going to be a big one as well. Could Brendan Rodgers go on him? I'm not sure. I think Derry have done very well defensively, but trying to stop McCurry's influence is going to be a big question. Dara Canavan looked very good against Fermanagh as well, so it'll be interesting. And Conor Moyler. I mean, there's so many facets to this game, but I would expect Derry to drop back, to be very defensive, compact, make life very difficult for Tyrone, and then hitting them on the break, hitting them on the counter, with the likes of your Shane McGuiggans. I mean, no Kieran McFell, who's obviously not going to be, he's opted out or dropped or whatever. He's not going to be in the panel for Derry. I mean, that's a huge loss because a player of his physicality and especially for those turnovers and counter-attacks, like missing him is going to be key from a Derry perspective. Make no mistake about it. But look, I think Tyrone at home at Healy Park, they should have enough to beat Derry. Let's be perfectly honest. Look, Derry have done very well in the last 2 seasons. They're certainly on the up under Rory Gallagher. You've obviously got young lads coming through like Lakeland Murray coming in there as well. They have a very good project, make no mistake about it. But I just think coming up against Tyrone, it's probably the one team, like it's a weird one with Tyrone. Like I feel like they have bad performances in them from time to time. Like first half against Fermanagh wasn't great at all. And, even the way they left Fermanagh slightly back into the game at the end to make it a 7-point game when it probably should have been, 13, 14 points. It's an interesting one. I think Tyrone, I don't think Tyrone will blow Derry away by any stretch of the imagination. And I think going into the final 10 minutes, both of these sides could be level, but I just think Tyrone will just have a little bit more. We've seen them obviously now have the knack of coming through these big games in Ulster. I think as well, just having played much higher quality opposition throughout the entirety of the year. The fact that Derry have yet to really beat a big team under Rory Gallagher. And look, you have to eventually go and do it if you want to be one of the top teams. And maybe next year in Division 2 they might be able to take a scalp of a Dublin or something to that effect. And I would certainly have them as strong contenders to get out of Division 2 next year. But look, I think they will put in a good performance. They'll make life difficult for Tyrone. But I think Tyrone will just about have enough here. And I think I will go with Tyrone to win this one by 3 points. But let me know your thoughts in the comments live. Who do you think will come out on top in the Ulster Senior Football Championship meeting between Tyrone and Derry? And it certainly will be a cracking game. I believe it's live on BBC as well. So that will be an interesting one. You've got Monaghan against Down, which is the other game in the Ulster Championship. Certainly probably not going to be as good a spectacle, you would have to say, as both Tyrone and Derry, mainly because Down are an absolute free fall. Make no mistake about it. They've had a disastrous year. They've scored the least out of anyone across all 4 divisions in the National Football League. All sorts of, rumbles about problems going on behind the scenes. And, there was talks that maybe James McCartan was potentially going to leave even before the championship. With some problems going on there. So there's a lot of things that you just don't really know what's going on with Down. You've got lads not wanting to play for the county and just all sorts of problems, issues, all the rest. Players not coming up from the under-20s. Just a lot of problems going on behind the scenes with Down at the minute. However, the last time that these two met in the championship, or in the Ulster Championship, I should say, it was Down who got the victory, the 2017 Ulster semi-final. Not many players who played that day remain in the Down squad, but nonetheless, that was certainly a big victory. Monaghan actually did go on to beat Down in the qualifiers in that same year. So Monaghan certainly got their revenge. But, the head-to-head between these two in the last 5 meetings, 3 wins for Monaghan, 2 wins for Down. So Down do have the knack of getting big wins against Monaghan in the past. It's certainly not, nothing new there. But you look, Monaghan, they're a strange team at times, as we know. When they play teams, they should be beaten comfortably. They tend to allow teams to come back into it. They have a massive problem managing games and seeing out games. Even against Dublin in that final game in the qualifiers in the National Football League, they should have been out of sight. They should have been 6-7 points clear. That last gasp penalty, obviously, from Dean Rock, that should have been a consolation goal. It shouldn't have allowed Dublin to come back into it the way that they did. But Monaghan, they struggle to put teams away. It's been a common theme really going back as far as Malachy O'Rourke's days. And it's been ever so present in the Banty McEnany days. I mean, you look at the meeting with Cavan there, 2020. They should have been out of sight, and that one allowed them to come back into it. But on the flip side of that, when they're chasing a game, they play very, very well, and they actually play a lot better. And they actually, a lot of the games that they've won has been like last-minute points, last-gasp points. You've seen that against Dublin, Galway last year in the Connacht Chat, or in the National Football League as well, the relegation playoff. So, Monaghan, they do tend to allow teams to stick with them. But look, Down are the one team you want to play, and Down's lack of fight has been very apparent in the Ulster, or in the league as well. They've shown next to no fight. They've been really poor, haven't won a game throughout the entirety of the league. So I think Monaghan, this will be comfortable. Look, I think Monaghan might take their foot off the gas in the final 10 minutes or so, but I do think it will be very comfortable with McManus back from injury. Mohan up top as well, and a few of the other lads in there. Obviously Sean Jones, who's come through. Yeah, I think Monaghan should have enough. It'd be interesting to see Jack McCarran's form. Can he keep the same form that he ended the league with, and can he put to bed this talk of him just being a National Football League player? That will be the big question. So yeah, I think Monaghan will have enough to get by what is a downside that certainly is in free fall, and is certainly living up to the name of their county there at the minute. So yeah, I think Monaghan will have enough by 7 points. Moving on to the Munster Championship, 2 games here to discuss. You've got Clare against Limerick. You've got Waterford against Tipperary. Maybe not the most, entertaining games to look at or to discuss maybe on paper, but they're the 2 games obviously we've been given here. And look, I think, there's a lot on the line in this Clare-Limerick game, and that's why I'm disappointed that this game isn't on TV. I mean, what you would say is, you look at the games that are on TV, obviously Tyrone and Derry's on TV. I mean, that's a no-brainer, isn't it, to have that game on Sky Sports? But you've also got, the games that Sky Sports are going with, Monaghan versus Down and Dublin against Wexford, probably going to be two very one-sided games. Let's be perfectly honest there. You just wonder why they're not showing Clare Limerick or Louth Kildare. I know people would look at the times or whatever, but if Sky Sports wanted, they could have Louth and Kildare at 2 p.m. and they could have Clare and Limerick at 4 p.m. I know Dublin is a big draw in terms of the viewing figures and all the rest, and a lot of people within Dublin will watch that game. Given the fact it's obviously not in Croke Park either, it's in Chadwick's Wexford Park. But at the same time, I think from a neutral point of view, it's very disappointing that it's Monaghan Down and Dublin Wexford on Sky Sports, because it's just going to probably be two very one-sided games, two games that probably aren't going to be very entertaining at all. Whereas you look at the meeting of Clare and Limerick, which I think is going to be very, very close, could go down to the wire, extra time, a real possibility. And although you would expect Kildare to get the better of Louth, I think that is a game that a lot of people would want to see. And again, not for the first time this year, the big games that we want to see of the weekend are unavailable and not on the television. So yeah, great to see. Great job there. Great job. But anyway, Clare Limerick will preview the game anyway, since no one else is probably going to talk about this at all. But look, it's a big game. Make no mistake about it. You would expect probably the winner of this game to probably win the semi-final against either Tipperary or Waterford. Clare have done a lot of great work in the last 10 years, obviously under Com Collins, the rise through the ranks in the National Football League. They've had a lot of great memories, great days out. They've given a lot of teams battles. They've come very close to getting to All-Ireland quarterfinals. They have some brilliant sharpshooters and, very sort of cult heroes, you could say, in Clare, and the likes of Owen Cleary, David Tubridy, and obviously being at home in Ennis. Look, it's a strange one because, for a county like Clare, there shouldn't be pressure on them to win this game or pressure on them to reach a Munster final, because it sounds a bit ridiculous, really, like given the fact that Clare aren't notably known for reaching Munster finals in football. But given that the draw that they're on, given the teams that they could have to play en route to a Munster final, it's a huge opportunity. And they've been one of the teams that, for me, it's clear to see that they're a better team than Cork at the minute. And they are the second best team in Munster. Obviously, there's a huge difference between them and Kerry. I mean, we all know that. But they certainly are the second best team in Munster at the minute. I don't think Limerick are that far off them either. But I think this is now where they need to deliver and produce a good performance against Limerick and give their fans a day out of what they deserve and give the players what they deserve. And it would be what they deserve for what they've given. But as we very well know, sport doesn't always work that way, and it can be cruel. And Limerick will certainly be going to Cusack Park feeling that they have a huge opportunity, not just themselves of winning this game, but getting to a Munster final as well. Because we've seen Limerick at Croke Park when they played Louth, like how brilliant they are in terms of attacking in waves, getting 4 or 5 players forward at one time, relying on goals. Those forward runs from Ian Corbett from centre back, and the turnovers as well, which has been key for Limerick. Josh Ryan, obviously very good, 229 so far this year. Keelan Sexton with 120 of Clare. It's going to be a very fascinating game, make no mistake about it. I think extra time, very realistic possibility. I think it will go to extra time, but I'm going to back Clare. Look, the fact that they're at home, they've consistently played, like they've played teams of higher quality in the last year, 2 years. You think of when Clare, gave Mayo a very good run for their money in that Division 2 promotion playoff. They have a lot of good players, and they should have enough to deliver against Limerick, who, have tended to do very well in first half and sort of the third quarter of matches. But it's been in that final quarter where Limerick have often struggled. And we've seen that against Louth at Croke Park, and we did see that against Louth in the league as well, actually, in the league stage. So I think Clare will narrowly have enough here, but look, I think it will be very, very close. And it's one of those games that could very well go either way, make no mistake about it. But feel free to let me know your predictions in the comments, but I'm certainly going to go with a victory for Clare by 2 points. You've got Waterford versus Tipperary, and it's certainly not a game that a lot of people will be excited for across the country. Waterford coming in on the back of 6 straight defeats, the worst losing run in the country at the minute across all 4 divisions of the league, and obviously coming into the championship as well. And Tipperary are going to be heavy favourites. Obviously having, of course, been promoted from Division 4 and having won their final 5 games up until that defeat to Cavan in the league final, the Division 4 league final. Interesting enough, Waterford and Tip, who did play each other on the opening day of the league, drew with each other. So that might give Waterford a bit of confidence maybe going into this one. But Tipperary, by way and at large, are going to be massive favourites for this one. And you can see why. I mean, Conor Sweeney, 329 in total this year, one of the best forwards in the country. But the good news for Tipperary is that, whilst they, in the opening couple of league games when they drew at Waterford and they lost to Leitrim, you could argue the point that maybe they were a little bit over-reliant on the talent that is Conor Sweeney, but they've started to find other players as they've gone along, and Mike Russell, Mikey O'Shea, and Sean O'Connor has done well for them as well, although I think he's going to be injured for this one. So you would fancy Tipperary to have enough. Waterford's top scorer this year is Dara Corcoran with 111. I'm not sure. I haven't seen any of Waterford this year. They're a very hard team to judge, obviously, of course. But you would look at the fact that they did finish bottom of Division 4, and this should be comfortable enough for Tipperary. If Tipperary don't win this, this would be a big shock. It certainly would. Given the fact that Tipperary, let's not forget, the last time they were on this side of the draw, they went on to win the Munster Championship. So, they'll certainly be fancying their chances of getting to another Munster final once again. Make no mistake about that. So I think Tipperary by 7 points. I think they should have enough there to get the victory quite comfortably. The only game in Connacht this weekend is Sligo and Roscommon. Roscommon, of course, will be massive favourites. I mean, that goes without question. Having been promoted from Division 2, having gone up as champions, and not only that, they are the only unbeaten team in the country at the minute. The last 5 meetings between these two in terms of head-to-head is actually a little bit interesting. One would think that Roscommon would have dominated this. I don't know if you'd call it a rivalry between Roscommon and Sligo. I'm not too sure if there is a rivalry there. Maybe there is. Maybe fans of either county can let me know in the comments down below. But Roscommon have won 3 of the last 5 meetings, but Sligo have beaten Roscommon as recently as 2015 and 2007. And look, Sligo, whilst they weren't great really at all against New York, you could argue the case that New York were a better team that day and probably could have won that game on a different day. But Sligo generally under Tony McEntee have improved quite a lot in the last sort of year or so. The second best attack, statistically speaking, across all 4 divisions in the National Football League. And look, every dog on the street knows that Roscommon will win this game, let's be perfectly honest. But there is, a good feeling in terms of what Sligo have done at under 20 level. This year, obviously winning the under 20 Connacht Football Championship, the success of the minors last year as well. So, there is a good feeling around Sligo in terms of that. Obviously, the entirety of the country was rocked by the tragic news of Red Oak Murphy, which, was tragic to say the least. But in terms of Sligo and in terms of their performances this year, they've done well. They have done well. You have to give them a lot of credit in terms of their attack of Niall Murphy and, Sean Carabine, for example, with 131 this year. Could it be a banana skin for Roscommon? I don't really think so, to be honest. Maybe if Roscommon had a poor year or something like that, you'd look at them and think, maybe Sligo might be able to do something, but I just don't see it, to be honest. It will be interesting to see what way Sligo approach this game. They have been very attacking across Division 4. But at the same time, with Tony McEntee's roots and all the rest with Armagh, you would probably feel that they will be a lot more defensive in this game, because if they go toe-to-toe with Roscommon, I mean, Roscommon will just blow them away, let's be honest. But if you sit back and defend, you'll probably get beat either way. So it'll be an interesting way to see what way Sligo approach it. But Roscommon should have enough for this one. They'll certainly have their sights set on winning this Connacht title. Make no mistake about it. They beat Galway twice already this year. And they will have enough in this one. Conor Cox, 35 points in total so far from him this year. Donny Smith, and the Smith, of course, has been fantastic for Roscommon. So, yeah, I think they will have enough to get past the mighty men from Sligo, but I think Roscommon will have enough by 8 points. Moving on to the Leinster Championship, then you've got 4 quarterfinals to discuss here in this one. Starting off with Louth and Kildare, and I'm excited for this one. And as I said before, very disappointed that this one isn't on TV or isn't available on GAA Go or anything like that, because it's such a highly anticipated game. Because look, Kildare will be the favourites. That goes without question. Of course, Kildare will be the favourites, make no mistake about that. But Louth have had a very, very good year, and the work that has been done at Louth in the past 2 years from Mickey Hart and his management team has been absolutely extraordinary. And, this game has obviously been played at a neutral venue in Offaly, I believe it is. But you would look at this one and think, if there's going to be a shock in this weekend's Leinster Championship, if there is going to be an upset, if there's going to be a game that's, you look at it and think, oh, that was very, very close. That could have went either way. You might look at this one, and we don't really, we've seen Louth obviously a lot this year, and we've seen how well they've done, 6 straight wins or 7 straight wins actually at the moment. They're on the longest winning run out of anyone in the country, putting 5 goals past Carlow the last time out. Samuel Roy scoring 2-5 on that occasion last weekend. And obviously Kieran Keenan as well has looked very well in there as well from a Louth perspective. I was going to say something there, but I've lost my train. I've lost my train of thought there. But in terms of speaking about the game in general, look, as you said before, or as we said before with Louth, Mickey Hart's approach, all the rest, there's just a massive chance of maybe there being some sort of scalp. But what I was going to say actually before I lost my train of thought there was that we've seen a lot of Louth this year, but in terms of them going up against, top class opposition, top class quality, and look, obviously there are better teams in the country than Kildare, make no mistake about that. But Kildare have been, sort of a Division 1, Division 2 team, a high level Leinster team, barring, sort of behind Dublin of the last couple of years. They had a good campaign in Division 1 themselves. Do you know what I mean? Although they got relegated, they finished with 5 points, beat Dublin, of course, as well, drew with Kerry. So Kildare had an impressive year themselves. And you would feel that, maybe if Louth were going up against the Meath, maybe they might catch them cold, the Westmeath or something like that. But going up against Kildare, it's probably is a bridge too far for them at this moment in time. And as I was saying before, we haven't seen them against, they're a bit like, Derry in some respects, where we haven't seen them too much against quality opposition in the past couple of years, especially under Mickey Hart. They were knocked out of the Leinster Championship early last year. So it'd be interesting to see Louth's approach. Look, I think you would probably expect Louth and Mickey Hart's side to probably be quite defensive and try and hit Kildare on the break in similar fashion to what they even did against Limerick in the second half, to be fair. They're going to try keep the game tight. They're going to be relying quite a lot on Samuel Roy to produce his big performances, which he has done throughout the entirety of this year, 564 in total this year, which is an extraordinary tally. But at the same time, you would look at Louth and think, how are they going to stop the influence of Jimmy Hyland, Dara Kirwan, Daniel Flynn? How are you going to stop those 3 lads? I'm not sure. And Paddy Woodgate's obviously been very good for Kildare this year as well. So it's going to be very, very tough to see how Louth stop that sort of attack and threat of Kildare. So, I think it will be close going down the home stretch, and I think Louth will make the game tough. It'll be a physical battle. Make no mistake about that. And Louth, of course, having beaten Kildare twice in their last 3 championship meetings, about 2010 and 2007. So, Kildare or Louth, look, Louth will go in with confidence. They won't fear Kildare. They certainly won't fear them at all. And they'll, you've seen Samuel Roy on the BBC social podcast, the GAA social podcast, saying that he expects Louth to win the Leinster Championship within the next 3 to 4 years. So you can see there's a lot of belief there, a lot of confidence, but I just think Kildare are just a step above them at this moment in time. I think maybe around midfield they'll be a little bit better with Flynn and Feely in there as well. Anthony Masterson. So yeah, I think Kildare will just about have enough by 4 points in the end, but I think it's going to be close, and this will certainly be a game that you will be keeping an eye on the Score BO app or any of the scoring apps that any of you lads have there, because it's going to be very, very fascinating indeed. Wexford versus Dublin. Here we go. Dublin begin their defence of their Leinster Senior Football Championship. We're bidding to win I think it's our 12th Leinster title in a row. So not that many Leinster titles in a row, really, when you think about it there. But Dublin, look, I mean, it was a disastrous year in the league, wasn't it? 5 defeats, just 2 wins, awful defending, 11 goals conceded. And as I've said before, we know Dublin have quality footballers and some of the best footballers in the country, in the likes of Brian Fenton, James McCarthy, Kieran Kilkenny, Conor Callaghan, Cormac Costello, like 5, top class footballers. We know what they've achieved in the past. And, if Dublin can get it right and deliver and click into gear, you don't know. Like, it could be, you still wouldn't write Dublin off of winning the All-Ireland this year because of the fact that they have so many quality players, and it was only 2 years ago that they won 6 in a row, and people were going into the 2021 championship. People were saying, are Dublin going to win this at a canter again? I remember that was a genuine discussion. But it's fallen, it's free fall so quick, and I think a lot of it has been down to management, tactics. Far too open defensively, going man to man. There doesn't seem to be any zonal system in there. Slow build up, slow passing, lack of urgency, not much confidence either. And probably, as you would say, Dublin have suffered as well from players who've retired, stepped away and opted out. The good news is it does, according to rumours and reports, it does look like Conor Callaghan's coming back. But we've heard that before. We've heard that 2-3 times throughout the league. Oh yeah, Con's going to be back this weekend, and then he isn't. So, we've heard numerous different reports, the Independent.ie and a few other reports that he will be back, and it is crucial that he does come back, because he just adds something different to what we don't have at this moment in time, and playing that role of full forward. If he does go into that position, and Kilkenny then drop him back to the half forward line, I think it'll be crucial. I think it really, really will. And I think again, if Con is going to come back, you'd want him to come back for this game, because look, we realistically know that Dublin will win this comfortably. Let's be perfectly honest. Wexford. Can anyone tell me who's watching live the last time Wexford beat Dublin in the championship? We'll reveal that in a couple of minutes' time. A little bit of a fun fact right there. But look, Dublin will win it comfortably. Let's be honest. It doesn't take a genius or Einstein to certainly work that one out. But look, from a Dublin perspective, I want Dublin to hit the ground running as a Dublin fan in this one. No messing around. I know Dublin in the past, 3, 4, 5 years, maybe they've messed around in the Leinster Championship, rotated players, tried different things out, different systems, all the rest. And sometimes in our opening round of games, we haven't always been convincing, like Wexford last year. Even when we played Carlow, I remember a couple of, numerous years ago, I think it was only like a 9 or 10 point win. Only a 9 or 10 point win in a provincial game. Crazy. But I want Dublin to hit the ground running. Like, they need to build up confidence. They need to get players scoring. And they need to remember what they've done, what they've achieved. Maybe someone should go in there and show them videotapes of what they've actually done. This is what you've done, lads. And, I think that I forgot to change the yoke there. But yeah, Wexford, Dublin, look. It'd be interesting to see Wexford's approach. I mean, we all know, as I said before, that Dublin will win the game, but will they defend like they done last year when they were very, very defensive and they went out of the Leinster Championship with their heads held high? And they made life a little bit difficult for Dublin at times. It was only a 7-point win, I think, in the end, and it wasn't exactly free flowing from Dublin. And it was the first time actually that we really start to see cracks in this Dublin team. You know, and that will be interesting. Ben Brosnan 1-9 versus Offaly. What a performance it was from him. What a win that was for Wexford over Offaly as well. Like, the turn over Offaly was a big surprise, and certainly not a result that many people expected. So, look, as I said before, Dublin need to hit the ground running. They need to start fast. I want a big performance. I want one of them results in the Leinster Championship where Dublin win this comprehensively, comfortably, just to build confidence going into the Leinster semi-finals, because if Dublin scrape through this and win 4, 5, 6 points, even a bit like last year, there'll still be a bit of negativity. And look, if they, you know, Dublin could get Kildare in the semi-finals, and that will be a tough game, in my opinion. So Dublin need to start fast. They really, really do. But I think they will, and I think Dublin will have enough to win by 11 points. So, yeah, Wexford's last win, as I was saying there, came over Dublin back in 1956, 66 years ago, the last time Wexford beat Dublin in the championship. Dublin have won the last 20 meetings as well. So, yeah, no pressure there at all, lads. No pressure there at all. But look, Wexford have come close on a few occasions, obviously, most notably 2011 and 2010, actually, the year before. So, yeah, look, Dublin will have enough, and they will win the game by 11 points. Make no mistake about that. You've got Westmeath versus Longford then. Look, you know, Longford, if you asked Longford fans what game they wanted to, or what team they wanted to draw in the Leinster quarterfinals, given the fact that Westmeath, Dublin, Meath, Kildare are obviously all kept separate from one another, because of the fact they were in the Leinster semi-finals last year, Longford would have said they wanted to play Westmeath because, look, they already beat Westmeath once this year in the league. They're coming in on the back of, obviously, avoiding relegation, bit of confidence. They've obviously brought through a couple of young players this year, and Joe Hagan, Jack Duggan. It wasn't a bad year in the end for Longford, considering how bad it started. You know, you were looking at Longford and thinking Division 4 looks like a realistic possibility right there. But with the influence of Darren Gallagher and their management, Longford did have a good year in the end. Westmeath, yeah, look, finishing third in Division 3 wasn't what most people expected. I think a lot of people expected Westmeath to get promoted, including myself, after the year that they had last year. They have quality players. We know that. John Heslin, an absolute sharpshooter, as we very well know. And they've got tricky flair players in Ronan O'Toole, Luke Loughlin, and you've got Ray Cannell and lads like these. You've got a lot of very good footballers, a lot of very good players in that Westmeath side. But for whatever reason, it just hasn't, they've let the run of themselves a couple of times and had some sloppy results. Losing to Longford obviously being one of them. If they had beaten Longford in the league, they would have been promoted. So, but look, Westmeath at home, I believe this one is. I think they should have enough here. With it being championship, you would expect their players would want to turn up, deliver, and put in a performance in this one. So I am going to go with Westmeath to get the victory by 3 points. Last but not least, Meath versus Wicklow. Wicklow haven't beaten Meath since 1957. Their only win over Meath in the championship. So it will be an almighty task for the Wicklow men, for the Garden County, to go to Park Talchin and upset the Meath men. I mean, yeah, this is another one of those that you look at it and think this should be comprehensive and comfortable enough for Meath. Make no mistake about that. When Meath played Wicklow in 2020, I expected the game to be a little bit more competitive than it was, and Meath just absolutely ragdolled Wicklow from left, right, and centre. It was not even a contest. But look, Meath have struggled, this year. They certainly haven't had their best year. Just 2 wins in total this year. Wicklow actually, funny enough, with the same amount of wins as Wicklow, even though Wicklow were very close to getting relegated. And Wicklow, look, that performance against Laois will give them a lot of confidence. To put 5-15 past Laois is quite the return right there. Scoring 5 goals, very impressive. And even if Wicklow lose this game, they can take a lot of pride and confidence from their performance. Even the fact that they did get relegated from Division 3, they'll take a lot of confidence from this year, I think, especially towards the end of the league and sort of start of championship. You know, they've got good young players in there like Owen Darcy, 315 and 8 games for him, Kevin Quinn, Padraig O'Toole. So, you know, Wicklow do have a couple of players in there that I think will cause damage to Meath's back line. But I think for Andy McEntee, look, I think Meath, you know, they have to put in a performance here. I know they've had a couple of wobbles in the past, but I think they've kind of gotten over that now. Like they dismantled Longford last year, dismantled Wicklow the year before. So I think I think Meath should have enough to comfortably get past Wicklow. And they did finish the league quite strong as well. Even though they were beaten by Derry on the final day, they certainly had some positive results in the back end of the league. Obviously beating the likes of Cork are results that certainly spring to mind. So, yeah, I think Meath by 9 points. I think it will be comfortable. And I think they certainly will win this one, you know, comfortably enough. But for Wicklow, look, they'll go into that Tailteann Cup with a bit of confidence. I think the main thing for Wicklow here is to not get beat by like 15 to 20 points, you know, to avoid an absolute massive hammering and I think that goes for a lot of teams really, to try and avoid those massive hammerings, because you want to try build momentum, build confidence going into the Tailteann Cup. But we'll have to wait and see. I mean, the only problem is if you go defensive, you're not going to win anyway. So, you know, it's kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. But we'll obviously have to wait and see. So yeah, that's obviously the predictions for this weekend's games in the All-Ireland Senior Football Championship. Let me know your predictions in the comments down below. In terms of players to watch or ones to watch this weekend, I think Shane McGuigan potentially going up against Ronan McNamee. That could be a very tasty battle indeed for both Tyrone and Derry. You know, obviously who's going to pick up Darren McCurry from a Derry perspective is going to be interesting there as well. You know, when you're obviously looking at Con O'Callaghan and hoping he delivers a big performance against Wexford, and hopefully he's back in the team, full stop. I think that's the main one. But the game I probably am most excited for this weekend, as I said, Louth and Kildare. Very, very fascinating game, I think. Although you would back Kildare, and I've predicted Kildare to get the victory, I just think there could be something there. There really, really could, but we'll have to wait and see. Sometimes when we've thought there's been things there, there's been nothing there. So yeah, so we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, cheers anyone who tuned in to the live stream a little bit earlier than usual, doing this preview on a Wednesday at 1 o'clock. But yeah, we're gonna try start doing the previews on Wednesdays and the hurling preview on Thursdays from now on, just so it gives more time for some of you lads to watch the preview. So, yeah, we'll go ahead and wrap this up here. Stay tuned for more previews coming soon. Subscribe if you're new. Smash the like button as well, because it helps the channel grow, and it's great to see the channel growing. So hopefully some of you lads can do that as well. And yeah, the hurling preview will be out tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. And I'll see you all later.